Hey everybody, it's John, Old Man Outdoors. We're back in the video series of connecting together the three components of the power management system for your boat. In my case, it's a little pond, a Bass Raider 10E. It works for pond prowlers, bass raiders, small John boats. It's virtually any boat that does not have its own built-in power supply. You saw in the first video the overview of the three components. The last video was the battery box itself, or the power box. This is the third video, and we'll talk about the pulse width modulator system, and that's what I have here. But first, let's talk just a little bit about what a pulse width modulator does. Over here, you've got a 12-volt power supply. Now, pay no attention to positive and negative. That's not what we're doing here. But you have a 12-volt power supply running into the pulse width modulator. Now, the pulse width modulator has a potentiometer on it, and a potentiometer just is a way to vary an electric current. In this case, it is determining how close the slices of DC power that are going to the motor itself. For example, over here, and this is an example, it's not exactly to scale or anything, but if you're going at a faster speed, the pulses that it's shooting out, for lack of a better term, over to your trolling motor are much closer together for running faster. Now, the voltage is the same. Each one of these spikes is still 12 volts. If you're running slower, the pulses or the spikes in between are longer. Now, we're talking milliseconds here is what we're talking as you're going on spikes. But each one of these spikes has the same 12 volts as the spikes over here. They're just closer together as it's pulsing that motor. That's why this thing in the middle is called a pulse width, the width of the pulses modulator. So it modulates the width of these pulses going over here to your trolling motor head. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about a pulse width modulator, or the intermediary piece between the two components that we had. Let's now take a look at how it's wired up and then go into greater detail. Even though this is probably the simplest one of the three pieces, we'll go into detail a little bit on how to wire it up. This is the box of pulse width modulator I put in. Again, the box is from Walmart. They're around $5. All the other stuff came from Amazon. Links are down below. This is the side of the box. The vent holes that I have on the side and on the bottom, if you run this thing on high speed, it does create a slight bit of heat. So just for additional protection, I've added vent hose. In order to get them equally spaced, I just use graph paper. Every ½ inch, I just made a dot, cut the graph paper out, taped it on the box, drilled my holes, and that's how my spacing got right. This is just done by eye. This is the potentiometer. Now, one thing you want to do is make sure when you hook everything up that you've got your motor on off. You'll get a power surge, and then you run a risk of damaging the pulse width modulator. So I keep actually both the on-off switch and the potentiometer on-off. This is the potentiometer. This varies the pulses that go out, the speed that they go out. In other words, it adjusts your motor. This is the on-off switch. It's got forward and reverse on it. And again, it's just a cut out of the box. This meter right here is the percentage of power that's going out, and it varies as you vary the potentiometer that you have. I'll open up the box and give you just a walkthrough on it. I'm not going to disconnect anything. This is the connector cable that I connect over to the power box. It's just an SAE extension cable. I will warn you right here, once again, always remember black to black and red to red. This cable does come with a crossover adapter, which you will need to use because if not, you run the risk of blowing something up. What you want to make sure is for this intermediate cable that the positive side, the red side, is always the one that is uncovered and uninsulated. Now, I keep this actually right down on the side of that as I travel, so everything is in here together. This is the wiring diagram. The switch, the plug that I have for my trolling motor, which, by the way, I didn't show that a while ago. This is the SAE connector. This is the one that goes back to my power battery. This is where the trolling motor connects. The trolling motor plug that I have is actually for 3 wires, so I just bypass this wire here and only use the red and the black. So we'll talk about from the power going in, which is down at the bottom. It comes up. This is clearly marked. power and motor, and you've got a positive and a negative. Again, extremely careful. This is the one where you want to double check and double check. Make sure you've got everything right. If you apply the power for an instant, you will burn this up. So make sure you have it. Now, once you get everything hooked up and you've got everything color coded, it's going to be correct from that point on. These are the wires that I was talking about that are all hardwired, and they're already attached. You don't need to worry about them at all. And as I said, when I get ready to go and carry it, I just push this down to the box like that, load it up, and it's ready to take to the boat with me. So that is the pulse width modulator. And that is the pulse width modulator. Again, it's easy to use, easy to build. The links are down below. Don't be intimidated by it. This is actually the easiest of all to wire. But as I keep saying, because I don't believe I can say it enough, make sure when you build this that you double check red to red, black to black. As it comes in here, from the SAE, from the battery box, all the way to your trolling motor. This, as I said in the first video, absolutely works flawlessly. What I do, and I did not mention it in this video, but I did in the first video, the way I use it is I turn the trolling motor on high speed, which in my case is number 5. I've got a Minn Kota 30. It's that little C2, little cheap thing, or not cheap anymore, but it was when I got it. Just make sure everything is off over here. I put my motor on number 5. And it works perfectly. Now, some people go ahead and strip all the electronics out of the motor and just use your red and your black wire. That'll work also. But if you ever go back and need your trolling motor, you're going to be stuck on high speed. So I just turn mine on 5, which essentially bypasses the electronics. So, hope you got something out of that. Don't be scared to build this. Links are below. And leave a comment if you need more information or anything that you'd like me to follow up on. Until we meet again, this is John, Old Man Outdoors. We'll catch you on the next video. And until then, get out and enjoy God's great outdoors.